Shocking night on the Eastern Front, January 2026. Ukraine destroys Russian super-convoy, Putin's most expensive artillery, turned to scrap, dear listeners. Welcome to an absolute special broadcast. It is January 2026. The icy darkness of the Ukrainian steppe is illuminated only by the flames of an inferno that has shaken the Russian army to its core. Imagine this, a highly protected, strategic Russian weapons transport millions of dollars on wheels speeds through the night filled with newly delivered Chinese wonder weapons intended to decide the war. The Russians felt untouchable. They had everything: air defense jammers, reconnaissance drones, special forces. And yet, in a single breathtaking night, Ukraine destroys it all. 15 brand new PLZ-05. Self-propelled howitzers, each weighing over 35 tons. Each costing nearly $4 million, become glowing scrap metal before they could ever fire a single shot. A convoy worth over $80 million annihilated. Russian soldiers die in the flames. Their elite units surrender to drones that cost less than a used car. This is no lucky hit. This is a humiliation. This is the proof. The Russian army, this supposedly invincible colossus, is outdated, arrogant, and hopelessly overwhelmed. This convoy was never a routine transport. This was Putin's personal trump card. 18 vehicles rolled as a single armored fortress through a carefully scanned, rehearsed, and secure corridor. 15 of them carried the brand new PLZ-05S Chinese 155mm self-propelled howitzers, with a range of up to 50 kilometers, using precision ammunition, a firing rate of up to 8 rounds per minute, highly automated and GPS guided. Still wrapped in factory plastic, never before tested in combat weapons, intended to turn entire Ukrainian positions into ashes within hours. Added to this were command trucks, fuel tankers, and state-of-the-art electronic warfare vehicles. Total value over $75 million, and that's just the hardware. The protection was correspondingly paranoid. A Tor M2 air defense system drove right in the middle. Jammers worked around the clock on all frequencies. Orlan 10 reconnaissance drones circled ahead and behind. Russian commanders were certain no one gets through, but Ukraine had other plans. As soon as the first satellite images showed the convoy, Ukrainian planners knew if these guns reach the front, hundreds of civilians will die and entire villages will be wiped out. The decision was made in minutes, all or nothing. The risk was gigantic. Every second of delay, every wrong radio transmission, every visible transmitter, and Russian Kornet anti-tank missiles or Ka-52 helicopters would have pulverized the Ukrainian command posts in seconds. But to do nothing, that would have been suicide. On January 13th, 2026, in the early icy hours before dawn, the Russian convoy believed it was already safe. At 4:11 a.m., the first blow struck, but not from Ukraine. The Tor M2 detected a tiny irregular dot in the sky, a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone worth less than $9,000. The Russians did not hesitate, missile out in under 2 seconds. The drone exploded in a white flash 1.4 kilometers away. A $1.1 million missile against a $9,000 drone, typical Russian arrogance. The escorts cheered. Radios crackled with confirmations. The convoy closed ranks more tightly. All clear, enemy neutralized. Yet in its final 0.48 seconds, this drone had fulfilled one last deadly task. It transmitted compressed coordinates, vehicle distances, and jamming spectra, a dying signal that mapped the entire convoy with brutal precision. What was a triumph for the Russians became the starting gun for Ukraine. Now there was no turning back. At 4:14 a.m., Ukraine launched its Phantom Swarm 30 FPV kamikaze drones rose from hidden positions. Each flew chaotically between 150 and 190 kilometers per hour, low, wild, and unpredictable. No straight lines, no symmetry, a nightmare for any radar. The target was not tanks or infantry. The target was the Russian software. The Tor. M2 began to stutter. Targets appeared, disappeared, and overlapped. The system classified them as interference, environmental noise, or false echoes. For 90 seconds, confusion reigned. Ukrainian operators breathed a sigh of relief, but time was running out. At 4:16 a.m., a Russian Orlan 10 operator took manual control. He ignored the automation and zoomed in on the chaotic movements. Suddenly he realized, this is no coincidence. This is a hunt. Immediately, the Russian Spetsnaz teams reacted. They jumped from the vehicles, and an anti-drone energy weapon system powered up. A silent beam and 3 FPV feeds went dark. Drones fell like stones into the woods. Within 1 minute, 5 drones were lost. The convoy accelerated to over 70 kilometers per hour, and distances shrank to under 4 meters. The Russians were now actively searching, and the danger became lethal. At 4:17 a.m., Ukraine struck back with a brilliant, desperate ruse. The Echo Trap Ukrainian systems captured the Orlan 10's control signal and retransmitted it with exactly a 1.1 second delay. The Russian operator suddenly saw that his inputs no longer matched the movement. Coordinates drifted. The drone began to fight itself. 40 seconds of flying blind. Exactly in this window, a Switchblade 600 loitering munition was launched. It climbed to 4,800 meters, found the Orlan 10, dived and shredded it with 4.5 kilograms of explosives. A clean kill. Russia's most important eye in the sky was blind. But escalation followed immediately. At 4:19 a.m., a Ka-52 Alligator attack helicopter took off 12 tons of armored fury with thermal sensors cutting through the treetops. From a distance of 6 kilometers, it located the heat signature of the Ukrainian command vehicle. A Viker missile target locked impact in 20 seconds. Inside the Ukrainian vehicle, alarms wailed. At the last second, an aerosol decoy was ignited, an artificial fire cloud hotter than any engine. The missile plunged into it, exploding harmlessly in the forest. The Ka-52 veered in its autocannon, ready for strafing. In that moment, Ukraine dared the ultimate coup. A modified FPV drone with a compact EMP charge rose vertically and detonated at a height of a few hundred meters. No direct hit was necessary, only proximity. The Ka-52 cockpit went dark, screens dead, navigation off, targeting systems frozen. The pilot fought with pure muscle power, aborted the mission, and limped back to base. For a moment, the sky belonged to Ukraine. At 4:22 a.m. came the climax. 22 remaining FPV drones damaged, nearly out of fuel, but still alive. Each carried a precision-shaped charge optimized for fuel tanks. No second wave, all or nothing. The swarm plunged in. The first drone hit the lead truck under the armor, a thin strip of steel pierced. Delay fuse. Milliseconds later, a 700-liter diesel tank exploded from the inside. The pressure tore the vehicle apart, lifted it into the air, and slammed it back onto the road. The fireball consumed the next vehicle only 3.5 meters away. Secondary explosions followed like a chain reaction. Fuel lines ruptured, ammunition cooked off. One detonation became 3, then 6, then an inferno. Within 45 seconds, the convoy ceased to exist. Drone feeds flickered out one by one, not because of jammers, but due to pure heat and pressure waves. Later satellite images showed craters over 12 meters in diameter, vehicles fused to the ground, and debris scattered over hundreds of meters. The result is devastating. 15 PLZ-05 howitzers completely destroyed. 22 military vehicles eliminated. Estimated 45 Russian soldiers killed or seriously injured, including command teams and EW specialists. Total loss over $80 million. Strategic damage. Immeasurable. These guns never arrived at the front. The planned fire raids never took place. Russian artillery superiority remained a dream. For Ukrainian units in that sector, it meant less counterfire, less pressure, more time to breathe, and higher chances of survival. Dear listeners, this is not a story of miracle cures. This is a story of intelligence, courage, and adaptation under deadly pressure. This is the proof that the Russian army, with all its billions, all its drones, helicopters, and missiles, can be humiliated by a handful of highly motivated Ukrainians using drones worth a few thousand euros. And now I ask you, what shocked you most about this operation? Was it the cold-bloodedness of the Russians in wasting $1 million missile on a $9,000 drone? Or the brilliant audacity of Ukraine in blowing up a high-tech convoy with cheap FPV drones and a homemade EMP? In your opinion, what should the Russians have done differently to avoid this disaster? Call in right in the comments. Your opinion counts in this historic hour. Stay tuned, the war continues, and every night a new legend can be born. This is your voice from the airwaves. Independent, fearless, unstoppable.